My name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now. Hello, everybody. Are you afraid of the dark? But what about things that go bump in the night? Are you afraid of those? Today, we are speaking about ghosts. How do you feel about ghosts? And are you really afraid? And do you sleep sometimes with your light on? Because, hey, you don't know what that strange noise is in your house. It could be a ghost. So let's chat about that. Hello, Dino. I'd like to introduce our new co-host, Dino.
Yeah. Yes. How are you, Carina?
Hello, Dino. How are you today?
I'm doing great, and I'm honored to be a co-host. You deliver the empathy, and of course, I have these extremely curious questions. So I think it's going to make for a very interesting collaboration, don't you think?
I think so. I think it's going to be even more fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is your take on ghosts? Do you believe in ghosts?
Now you're killing me with this subject because, of course, just drop it on me anytime. Don't worry about me.
Because I know you'll bounce back, and I know you'll make this.
I might. You got to give the brain a little chance here. But okay, so ghosts. Like if I think of ghosts, I think of like Casper the Friendly Ghost. People, the ones with the sheets and the holes and or all the scary movies, which we all love. We all love to get thrilled and kind of, the roller coaster of emotions. But instead of calling them ghosts, my take is spirits. Okay. And actually it's very, very normal. I mean, I know it's embarrassing to talk about, but not like the one that has the skull and lights the candles and has the salt and chants and stuff like that. But I'm talking about spirits. I mean, obviously, there's a large following in the world that believes in the afterlife. I do too. Okay, and it goes without saying that it'd be foolish not to think that the spirits, right, especially leaving your body and going wherever, let's call it energy, but that they don't exist. Some are lost, I believe. Some are, and sometimes it's the settling of the house. You hear some creaks and stuff like that in the night. But sometimes, and it's happened to me, some just incredibly unexplainable things. It's never scared me, probably because I'm just so damn curious. I don't know, but I just believe that they're, if it truly exists, nobody's trying to scare you. They're just trying to communicate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I just kind of look at it that way. At least that keeps me sane. And I will add that I do not need the light on. So there you go.
So you're not really afraid of ghosts, but have you ever had experiences with ghosts or alternate, something different? Sometimes if you go into strange people's houses, right, you walk in and there's just that strange energy, of course. Of course, you can pick up energies. It could be that they've just had an argument, but let's put that aside. And you walk into the room and suddenly you have this cold feeling of there's something here. Have you ever experienced that?
I have experienced that, but my perception comes from feeling somebody out. Like I can feel negativity, or I can feel when somebody just instantly connects, for example, and is on the same page with me. Like I've written, even in my book, the hair on my arms stand up. It's just a weird feeling. But you're the, I don't know, what do you call it? Empath? Is that right? And so you probably can feel a lot of those things differently. And there's a lot of people, I think, like you out there that can feel those things. I've always had what others call strange coincidences, which really I don't believe there are.
I don't believe there's a coincidence.
I just think there's a purpose for everything. And I do believe that I've been guided all of my life. But allowing me to make the wrong choices, but something in my head just kind of putting me at the right spot at the right time. That's the extent of like the supernatural connection that I have. But as a kid, I was scared to death of the Wizard of Oz. Specifically, okay, I'm going to say it. Specifically, the Wicked Witch of the West. I was really, really scared. And I remember I couldn't go to sleep. And my dad's like, "What's wrong?" And he says, "Well, you gotta say a prayer, So he taught me this little prayer. It sounds great in Greek. In English, the translation is crazy. But basically, it was like, before I go to bed, before I go to sleep, please, God, make all the bad go away, something like that. Like I said, it sounds much nicer in Greek, but, and I felt comfortable. I felt safe, but I had my moments where, a dark closet would kind of freak me out, or like I would wake up and the covers may be a little heavy on my feet, and I'd be like, there's something there, and I didn't look down. So it was just, but I'm lucky enough to kind of like have an open mind and embrace, that there might be, it's foolish to just think that there's just life on Earth. There's an infinite universe. And for us to think that we're the only people around is, I challenge that. But, a lot of people are afraid of it. So much so that they'll have people come and bless the house. They'll buy that sage stuff and they'll burn it, and they'll, go around the house and fill it up with smoke. There's a lot of superstition to these things that have been carried on for generations, and kind of the stories morphed as the years have gone by, to the point now where, there's, demons, there's vampires, there's, all kinds of stuff. And you'd be surprised how many people think they're real, What's your take on it, Carina? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, for me, I've had experiences where I've felt and I've seen, beings, okay? When I was in South Africa, I worked a lot as a healer. So I'd work a lot with the Archangels. And I'd experienced that as well. I'd experienced their energy while I was doing healing. So I wasn't really healing. I wasn't healing. It was like they were healing through me. So that was a very, very interesting experience. And
okay,
of course,
stop right there. Stop right there. But please, when I'm done, continue. So you said they, right? There's a lot of archangels. So did you know which one was working through you at each time?
Well, I worked mainly with Archangel Michael, because he was the protector, right?
Yeah.
And then Archangel Raphael, who's the healer. And sometimes there were other angels that would come into the healing energy with me. And a lot of times there would be ancestors and uncles and aunts or grandmothers of the actual client who would come and just support. So it was just a feeling and a seeing of these people and of these beings. And of course, then you'd get the visions, and I'd know where to go and whatever. But that's not. So,
have you ever recorded any of these things?
No.
Oh, come on! Really?
No.
Why?
Because it's a personal thing.
No, but did you ever talk in different languages?
No, I don't think so. You see, the problem with that as well is that when I'm in that space, I don't remember anything out when I get out. So it's a connection. I connect with the person. I connect with the energies, and once I'm out of the I don't know, space, the protected space, and I've finished the energy and the healing, I walk away and I don't remember because it's so much download.
Wow.
So no, I haven't recorded it.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so healing. So somebody would find you. I'm not making fun of this, but this is my take on it. Like the yellow pages, healers are us, and they call up Carina and say, "Hey,
No.
all right." So what happened?
It's word of mouth. It was word of mouth. I didn't advertise.
Really? And these people that you were healing them from.
Well, it depends. It was a lot of. That's where it would be like fear, or sometimes they'd have. Most of the stuff was emotional, right? Emotional issues. And then a lot of times they just come for the healing because of stress, and then I'd get answers as to what the problems were. A lot of times I just see things. So that was, this is supposed to be about this, but anyway, so that was
You started it. So
the whole thing.
This is interesting. This is fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's just one thing. But what I was thinking about as well is a lot of times I remember when I was also growing up, we had a long sort of house, and my room was right in front, and the kitchen was right at the back, and there was this long corridor, and of course the lights were always off. You had to save electricity, and I'd switch on the light and run because I was so scared of the dark. Run to the room, switch on the light, because I'd feel all the. I don't know if anything was there, but. And I eventually grew out of it, right? But a lot of people don't grow out of it. A lot of people are still afraid. And I'm saying to you, you obviously grew out of it as well, right?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I don't think you grow out of it. I just think that I'm perceptive, but experiences taught me to sometimes keep it to yourself. You know what I mean? Because right away you're labeled some kind of a freak. You know what I mean? Mind your own business, or how do you know this? What else do you know? This is not a confessional, but it's just, I call it perception. You could call it, obviously you're way in tune with this stuff, but I just always felt that I had the ability to have a special connection with people. And you can sense that they're, and again, this is based on that you're 100%, your wits are about you, and you have no external influences like drugs or alcohol. Okay, so which will affect you. But if you're really zoned in and you're honed into a person, I don't even have to know them, and I'll know if they're genuinely kind, or if I'm going to connect, or and from it, to the outside world, it probably seems very easy. Like, what does this guy have? He could just walk up to somebody and say some crazy thing, and he won't get slapped in the face. I obviously wouldn't do it if I'm feeling that these people were hostile. Okay, but in the general sense, I'm being good-natured, and I also feel reciprocation. They're good-natured as well. That never goes away. And a lot of times we talked about this on several of your shows where, I always believe that I've been led. Okay. Always. And I always believe that for some reason I could be afraid about certain moments, certain situations, but never really afraid, because that I'd always be taken care of. And it's funny you mentioned Saint Michael.
Yes.
Because full disclosure, and this was more kind of like I was very curious and novelty. I didn't believe. But I go in, when I was in San Diego, I go into this place where we're walking the street and we're window shopping. And there was this, I'm just going to say it, psychic healer. Okay. And it was like, I don't know how much money it was, but anyway, and of course I'm just like, I am not going to tell her anything about me. I'm not even going to say if I'm happy, if I'm sad. I'm going to be the only person in the room, no external influences, no, looks from other people where their facial expressions kind of give it away. And I was like poker face. Okay. And I sit down, I give her the money, and I only told her my first name. And she started going on and on. I mean, just accurate, uncanny things that I don't know how. I mean, I even hid my watch. Okay. You don't know if I'm successful or not. You don't know who I am. But one of the things that stood out was she says, you've been always watched by the Archangel Saint Michael, and he continues to watch over you. You'll always be protected. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? I was going through, this was right at where I was just going to go off the deep end with my drugs and alcohol. But I started remembering what she was saying after I got out of rehab, so much so that I went and got a tattoo of St. Michael. I'm like, if he's always watching me, he's always protecting me, I might as well wear him. I mean, it's just a dumb thing in my head, of course, but it's funny that you mentioned that name. It's really cool.
It's not really funny because for me, I've always believed that I've been protected. Now that you say that, always. So I've been in situations where, hey, it wasn't safe or whatever, but I was protected. I've walked around. Okay, I mean, I'm in San Diego. San Diego's really safe, right? But I walk around and go to the beach at 1 o'clock in 1 a.m. or whatever. It's not a big deal. I'm just
1 a.m.
Well, that's another story.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is I'm always protected. So if I walk around at night and I know that I'm protected, and a lot of people look at me and say, like, what is wrong with you? Are you crazy? And I can understand where they're coming from because I can understand their different perspective. But for me, I'm always protected. So it's quite interesting that you said that because I can resonate with that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people feel that way too. It's like, well, how do you know? How do you know? And, again, I'm not going to go into both the stories of our lives, but I could have and should have been dead several times. Okay. The fact that I'm still around walking and continuing to reinvent myself is a testament to, I can't keep getting up and saying, well, I'm so good, that's why I do it. There's got to be something else helping out. Anyway, that's the way I feel. But there's a lot of people who don't feel that connection. And it doesn't have to be spiritual or churchy or preachy or anything like that. But it's just something in yourself that I like to explain it like, everybody can relate to the little voice inside your head. Some people think that little voice is spiritual. Some people think it's your subconscious, whatever the hell you want to think. But the point is, everybody has that. And you can either ignore it or you can kind of listen to it. Most times, including myself, I've ignored it through my whole life. But if you stop and do a little soul searching, you'll find that it's right. I don't know how, but it's right. Always. And that could be like a guiding spirit. I would look at it more that way. Other people would be like, well, I probably heard something somewhere sometime and it stayed in my subconscious. And now I've unlocked my subconscious. Any psychiatric explanation you want to think of that makes you feel better, go for it. But there's something in everybody, that kind of compass, if you will, that is always pointing north. We just choose to ignore north, and sometimes we'll take a detour, right? The main thing is that in all of us, we'll all take a detour at one time or another. As long as we always know that north is this way, so we could get back on the path and keep going. That's what's kept me grounded for all these years, because there were a lot of times I was going south, just completely opposite. And for some reason, even when I was going south, I always knew where north was, but it was hard to turn around. Sometimes it's easy to turn around, but we all do recover. We all do turn around. And I guess that's the point. How's that for your supernatural thing?
Well, I'm just thinking about what about the people that are too afraid to turn around? Or what about the people that live so much in the past that they don't even see a future?
Wow. You've touched on a nerve, because there's a lot of people in my life that I finally had to leave behind because of that very reason. And it's sad, because it's almost like you know more or feel more about their situation than sometimes they even do. And you in your head have just almost like paint by numbers. First you do this, and then you do that, and then you do that, and it's easy. But it's great for me to talk about it all day long. But until somebody's ready to embrace that, they're never, ever going to change. And so sometimes, you hear the expression, if you love somebody, set them free. It's kind of a hard thing, but it's just like I've mentioned this on another show. Success is a very personal journey. You can get all the guidance and all the support in the world, but that final crossing, that you got to go through this threshold and then success is on the other side, that's personal. You got to do that yourself. Yeah. Nobody can push you through it. Nobody can pull you to it. It's just something you have to do yourself. I've left a lot of people behind that just, I don't think they refuse. They just can't get out of yesterday. Yes. For whatever the reason. Mm-hmm. And I understand one of the reasons. One of the reasons is it's very painful to face these scars and address them properly and put them in their proper place. But there's another group that we don't often talk about, and that's the group that prefers to wallow in misery, because misery equals attention, and misery equals commonality, and misery equals a discussion or a debate that they're longing for. It's like they're so lost that they think the way to make connections is not, search for the positive attributes that we all have, but focus on the negatives. Like, oh, did you grow up this way? Oh yeah, me too. Do you know how bad my life is? Well, let me tell you about my life. Yeah. And so it becomes this competition, this never-ending competition on the quest to reach zero, instead of the quest to, get the hell out of that hole that you're in. Yes. And it's really frustrating for me. You touched on a good nerve here. It's really frustrating for me because, I don't know if it's lack of self-esteem, lack of belief, lack of understanding in that little voice or that guiding force or whatever. But for some reason, they're following, if they were on MapQuest, it would be directions that said, make a left, make another left, make another left, make another left. And they just keep doing this damn circle. Reboot that MapQuest, because it's not supposed to take you around in a circle. But at some point, when you're with a friend or a significant other or a family member, and they're doing that, then it comes time for self-preservation. Yes. They can have the ability to either take you with them on this never-ending journey of misery, or you have to leave them behind. There's no other way. No. There's no other way. No. And that's the sad part. I mean, we're supposed to be talking about uplifting things, and everything's great. But I like your podcast because we peel back the curtain on a lot of things that are kind of sometimes ugly. Yes. But they're the truth. Yes. And if anybody out there, any viewer does, knows what I'm saying, understands what I'm saying, send a message, or for right now you're viewing, raise your hand. Does anybody know of somebody that's in that never-ending circle that you still know or you had to leave behind? Raise your hand. I think that it's so universal and we don't really think about it, but I think everybody either directly knows somebody or knows somebody who knows somebody that's doing this. Yes. And it's podcasts like this, it's discussions like this that maybe kind of open people's eyes to the fact that, hey, you're not alone. I mean, we all want to help people. It's inherent in all of us. I mean, we're a giving, loving people. We're a loving, giving country. We all want to do the right things. But there's some people that you just can't help.
Yes.
And that becomes very, I mean, I know it's frustrating for you, but I just wanted to tell you, you're not alone. I mean, it's frustrating for me too. Everybody wants a better life or a better successful career, or to invent the next pet rock, or to be a millionaire, or, you know, all these things. And then you're just thinking, you know, even if I gave you a damn encyclopedia or a roadmap that said, do these things exactly, and I guarantee you 100% you're going to reach your goal. Guaranteed, without question. People will still find a way not to either follow it, or they'll make excuses about starting it.
Yes.
Which I love.
Yes.
Well, this wasn't a good week. Well, I wasn't feeling good. Well, I had a lot of things going on. What are you supposed to do? You know what I mean?
You can't do anything. That's why it's exciting. Everybody has their own path, right? And a lot of times you don't know why people do things because you don't know the full story, right?
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of courage to cut those people out of your life, because either you stay in their mud, or you move away to preserve yourself, like you said. So I commend you for that, because a lot of people can't do that.
It's hard. It's hard, though. I will admit, it's very, very difficult.
It's hard, but you can't. The only person you can change is yourself. So
right.
So you can change yourself and be an example, right? And hopefully people will emulate you and learn. And that sounds, it's not supposed to sound arrogant, but it does sound arrogant right now. And some people just can't do that, and they don't want to. They want to stay in their victimhood because for them it's fun. I don't know how, but for them,
how misery can be fun.
They just want the attention. Because a lot of times people go, well, how are you? Oh, my toe's sore and my head's sore, and oh yes, my toe, whatever, and people, like most people, they go, oh, I'm sorry, what next, and whatever. Whereas if you don't accept that from them, then eventually they'll also learn that they won't speak to you about those things.
Yeah, I mean, the relationship gets more and more shallow as you stop accepting their reasoning and excuses. And that's the honest truth.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying cut them off completely and they're banned like we ban people on Twitter or Facebook. But I'm just saying that the door will always be open to help somebody move forward. But as time goes on, there's more and more boundaries. It's just like, I'm not going to ever shut somebody out. But right away if they're returning to be sincere or they're returning with the same old song and dance. Yeah. And if the same old song and dance, it's just like the movie Gone in 60 Seconds. Boom, you shut down that emotional support very, very quickly, right? Before they start bringing you down. To me, it feels like somebody's like emptying a garbage can on my head. It's just garbage all the time, and it's draining.
Yes.
It's mentally, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, it's draining. And then when you lead by example, very few people follow. I've learned not to stop to, hey, are you following me? If you're going to follow, you're going to follow. Just like me, anytime I seize an opportunity, I wouldn't just say, well, I'm just going to do it maybe next week. I'd do it right away. I wouldn't walk. I'd run. You know what I mean? Like my dad, when he said move, I either moved or he moved me. I'm talking about fast. A lot of people don't have that. And I don't know what is in the way. I mean, you said, well, you don't really know about their lives. That's true sometimes. But what if you know pretty much intimate everything about their lives, but you just can't figure out what's firing in their brain, the mechanics, why they choose just to not take the the extra step. And I don't know, I mean, you're the counseling life coach kind of person, you know, is it just time? Like when I define time, is it in years, or is it just irreparable damage, or some traumatic episode in the past, or fear, some kind of roadblock? What is it?
It could be all of those, but also some people just need to make a decision and decide, right? They need to make a decision. Okay, I'm going to do the other, I'm going to do this, or I'm not.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, there's that sometimes one little incident that just causes everything to just mess up, right? And sometimes it's a minor thing. And when you find that, changes everything. Not all the time. Sometimes you need to dig deeper and deeper, but it's also the person must want to do it, because I can work with people, and sometimes I hit a roadblock because they're fighting with me on every level. They're arguing with me on every level, right? And I can push and push and push because, hey, you know what? Sometimes my head is harder than the wall, right? You know, you push and push and push. But eventually you need to realize and say, hey, I need to end this here. And a lot of times it works with relationships as well, right? Where you know the relationship is not working, but you do everything to try and make it work. And eventually it starts smelling really bad. It's time to just cut ties. So it's very similar to that. And then a lot of times it's about fear, because again, it's fear. When you're in a client, for me, a client relationship, it's like, I have to help this person. It's like, I have to do it. It's my obligation. And I have to push and push and push and help this person regardless. Whereas, you know what, you have to accept sometimes maybe that person needs to, you can only do so much with that person, and then that person needs to go on to someone else. And I don't like accepting defeat very well, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree.
Right.
You're not that type of person. So was it easier for you to help people when you had a background about them, or was it better for you to just make up your own assumptions and theories?
I like this kind of thing. I like working, meeting the person, with a clear slate. So as we work, then I get to know the person, because otherwise you have preconceived ideas, right?
Right.
And then that colors everything. Like that's why this show is so great. Well, because we just dive in. We don't plan anything. We just dive in and do whatever. And I just throw things at you. Wow, thank you for accepting that.
Carina, one of these days you're going to hit me with a subject and then there's going to be crickets. I'm going to be like this. Well, it's good to see you, Carina. No, but I mean, look, we started out with ghosts, then we went to spirits, then we went into, something in us, a guiding force, or the little voice in our heads. And then we got to the point where it's like, why do some people listen to the voice and follow a path that try and stay on track anyway? We're all not, we're not perfect, but for the most part, stay on that track. And why are people just have a track that forms a circle and just keeps going around?
Right.
Now, all this evolved from your little ghost story in the beginning. Which I must say just floored me in the beginning. I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a response to this, but I do. It turns out I do.
Now, I'd like to ask you a question now.
Sure.
How do you know if the little voice is your fear or your real inner being that has your best interest at heart?
Wow. Okay. I can only tell you from my feeling. So everybody probably has their own thing. The fear in me, I'll describe it best. If you've ever been pulled over by a police officer and you're driving, you're speeding or whatever you were doing, and you get those bright lights on your rear view mirror, and all of a sudden you see the lights spinning, all the different colors. There's an immediate, for me, heat and then chill all at the same time. Like the hairs will stand up and I just feel a cold thing in my body and like that. That's fear. Okay. So if that thing is talking to you, that's bad. The little voice that is my guiding light usually has a feeling of elation. Like the hairs on my arms stand up, or I feel like a warm feeling in my belly or something like that. I may not act on that either, okay? But I'm just saying that's how I know the difference. And I think a lot of people can distinguish the difference between something like a hope or a guiding light, let's call it, and just fear and sheer terror, okay? The funny thing about humans is we like both feelings. And I don't know why. I mean, that's why people go on roller coasters, so they can, feel that like, oh my God, we're going to die, as you're going down the thing. Or that's why people like me like to watch horror movies. When I was a kid, Exorcist first came out, and that was R-rated, and there was no way I was getting in, right? Especially with Greek parents, they're not going to take me to The Exorcist.
Of course not.
But in my neighborhood, it was within walking distance of a theater, and then I was able to go to the back of the theater where there were exit doors, and you couldn't open the doors, but they were bent, so you could kind of like have this little space. And sometimes I try and see, but for sure you can hear. And the noises and sounds that I heard, me and my friends and my brother, we were like, "Oh my God, did you hear that?" It's terrifying, but we all do that. I don't know why, but as you grow up, you start you start understanding that some of these things that are in people's heads are just not logical. They're just not. You know what I mean? Like as an example, I open up my closet. What if there was a spirit there? What if there was a zombie there? What would you do? Would you run? Would you just stop in the middle of your tracks and be like a deer in headlights? Would you be like, hey, what are you doing in my closet? Would you invite him for a cup of coffee? I don't know, I know that I'd be scared at being surprised. Okay. But once that goes, I don't think I'd run, because I'm not going to be harmed. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just that feeling that I understand. I'm not going to be harmed. And I think that comes from understanding my psyche. Nobody's going to tempt me with these just ridiculous things towards the dark. You know what I mean? I have my beliefs. I have my feelings. I have my drive. A lot of times when I'm down in the dumps, I'm weaker at it. But when I'm firing on all cylinders, you can't sell me a snowball. You can't sell me the Brooklyn Bridge. I'm not going to be swayed by everything somebody does, that's likable or not. Okay. And just having that power of conviction in myself makes me feel strong, makes me feel powerful, to the point where it's like, I can't be swayed. But I'm not going to judge you for trying. I get it. It's fine. I mean, everybody tries, and I'll listen and I'll be fair. But at the end of the day, the only way I will follow you or believe you is if I want to. But you're not going to make me do something that I don't want to do.
I love that. So
yeah.
How do you do that? Because a lot of people get swayed by, look at Jim Jones, all those people in the Kool-Aid, they all killed themselves or whatever, or all these cults and things. What is it in you that makes you so strong? What is it that stops you from being swayed by others? I know you notice, by the way, where I used to live in San Diego, which was Rancho Santa Fe, the grounds of Rancho Santa Fe, for anybody who's old enough to remember, was, I think in the 80s, called Heaven's Gate. Okay. And Heaven's Gate was similar to what you're talking about, where they all
drank poison. It was a cult that believed that the end of the world was coming, and they were positive it would be on this date, and they all drank whatever, Kool-Aid, like you said, or something like that. That's all I know about it, except that most neighbors are like, at night, you can hear some screams. I'm like, dude, those are coyotes. I mean, take it easy. We live next to a king. But let them believe
that would be
whatever.
interesting to see if you pick up any ghosts there.
Well, at the time that I was there towards the end, I would see statues turning, but I think that had something to do with the drugs and not the ghosts. Okay.
Saying, you have to be like clear-minded, no drugs and alcohol.
And I never was at the time that I was there. I was never, okay, back to your question.
Okay, sorry.
People like Charles Manson and all these cults and all their followings, if you really look at it closely, you'll find that there was always a charismatic figure with tendencies to almost be a predator, because they wouldn't feed on normal people or strong people. Like, I take normal back. That's, I don't know. Well, I don't know why I said it, but they wouldn't feed on people like me. But if you really study it, their group, their following, were people that were transients, runaways, homeless, confused, low self-esteem, drugs sometimes, back then, it was all these, hallucinogens and these downers and, all that stuff, acid. And these are ugly topics, but they exist, if you want a bubblegum vanilla station, this isn't the one, but we're talking about stuff that really happened, right? And so it's easier to sway a crowd like that. And all it takes in those crowds is to have 2 or 3 solid followers. And then this, I don't know what you call it in psychological terms, but it's almost like a contact high with other people in the group, where they all start feeling and expressing the same emotions.
It's like mirror neurons. So everyone starts mirroring each other.
Yeah. And the only thing that I could say on contact high is, like, when I was ready to get high and take a pill or something like that, and the people with me were ready to, even though we didn't take it, we all started experiencing the same euphoric feelings that you get after taking it. That's called a contact high in the addiction world. So I'm sure it's the same thing with the cults.
Yes,
I'm not sure, but I assume.
Yes.
Anyway, how do you get out of that? Well, what you have to do, the way I became strong in my convictions is you have to test out your will. You have to exercise all of those things. That's why we go back to the people that run around in a circle. Mm-hmm. I don't think they're exercising their feelings and their emotions. I don't think they're doing deep dives. I don't think they're rebooting their brain. I don't think they're stretching the boundaries of their comfort zones. And because of all those things, one or all, they haven't tested the waters enough where anything past that line is fearful. It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Of course, yes.
On this podcast, your show, I had a terrifying experience. And I'm very proud of the fact, I don't want to get all dramatic and stuff, but I'm very proud of the fact that it happened. I talked about it.
Yes.
I stretched my comfort zone way out. I chose to face fears instead of ignoring them. I pulled scabs instead of putting Band-Aids on them. And I did deep dives into the uncomfortable in myself. There's a lot of demons that we all carry, you know what I mean? There's baggage. Yes. And instead of saying, well, I don't want to look back there. I don't want to know what I see. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I am going to look back there. So people like me, and even though this episode that I went through recently, it was truly recent, and I'm glad we were able to catch it on tape. Like a lot of people, it's like, I wish somebody was filming me. Guess what? I was. So that's the cool part. But it's not my first and only experience in that. I mean, in fact, I've had episodes like that all my life for different reasons. Business failed, or I lost the love of my life, or whatever it is. Okay. And each time, when they say, well, he always keeps moving forward and he always gets up after he comes, it's the same thing of what I'm talking about now. I explore and analyze myself so much, not as a narcissist, but as kind of like fine tuning my craft. So if you ever watched the movie, the original Jurassic Park, they featured a part where there were the velociraptors, and the raptors were testing this electric fence. And the guy was like, they never touched the same place twice, and they remember. And so in that case, hey, that's a good thing for this show. Have a raptor go across the screen. That would be good for the dinosaur this week. But in that case, I'm kind of like the raptor, where I remember things. It's good to remember things. It's good to remember painful experiences, not just the good ones, because the painful ones are the ones that teach us the lessons. The good ones, those are like freebies, man. I mean, okay, it's great. Everything's great. Congratulations. And it's over. Happy birthday. Oh, okay, it's over. It's a tick on the clock, right? But the failures are what make us stronger. It's just that people choose not to explore their failures. And I think they're making a huge mistake by doing that.
Yes.
So how does somebody get out of that? By questioning. If I was in that cult following Charlie Manson, yeah, you know what? I'm around people, like-minded individuals. It's cool to not have a job, man. It's cool to, free love and all the drugs. And Charlie's the best, man. But people like me, eventually, he would do a speech that he would slip up and contradict his words. And bam, that would be in my head. Now I have something to question, right? I still know what's right from wrong. I think a lot of people do. It's just, in the moment you choose not to listen to what's right because this sounds cool. You're accepted. You're in a group. You're in a family. You're being loved. You're getting high, whatever the hell your deal is. But you still know right from wrong. I believe that. And so you have to test these things. And the best way to test it is, and I don't know how I do this, but I'll hear contradictions in somebody's delivery. It may not be in the same conversation, but I don't write notes or anything, but I remember.
Yes,
I remember.
Yes,
and so when you trip up on your own words and then you start backpedaling, that to me is a huge indication that, well, you know what, maybe I need to formulate my own opinion before I just fall face forward, and follow this person. And so I think it's really important for people to understand that, you have the right to formulate your own opinion. Opinions are formed by exploration of your boundaries, deep dives and understandings of yourself, your external forces of what people are telling you. But instead of just falling for something face value, you have to kind of analyze the situation and find out what's right for you, right?
Right. Right. Yes, I love that. And unfortunately, some people if we look at, if people are down and out, right, they're homeless. Say homeless because people are homeless and they don't find a way out, right? Because they don't know really. How do you lift them up when they don't want to be lifted up?
Well, you said if people are homeless because they don't know. If you weren't born homeless, okay, so you do know. I mean, there has to have been a time, and I'm not knocking homeless. Homelessness happens to a lot of people. And one of my motivating things still to this day is I always go across an on-ramp where there's a bridge and you see the the little cubby holes and stuff like that. And I don't know why, but I always think to myself, you know what? This would be a great place for me to sleep if I was homeless. I don't know why I think that, but I still do. So homelessness happens, especially if the economy is kind of screwed up. Somebody can lose a job. Most people are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being broke. So imagine, if there's no government subsidizing you, if there's no unemployment coming in, the money runs out. Even the most considered, intelligent person or successful person can be, in fact, homeless. But we all, I think, remember when we were not homeless. And it doesn't matter if it was a great house or not so great house. We remember that. Okay. So if you're homeless on the street, you're homeless. It's hard to get out of it because it's like, well, I need good clothes. I need to look presentable. I need a place to shower. I need, to be able to do something. But given the right opportunity, for the most part, I think you can get these people out. If they're hooked on drugs or alcohol, okay, which a lot of homeless are, there is a way, to get them on the road to recovery. And there is actually my foundation, which pretty soon we'll talk about. There is job training, there is job placement, there is, counseling for career, there is mental health counseling, there is life coaching, these things exist. By the way, all of them exist in my foundation. So I can't wait, one day we'll talk about it. But for now, to answer your question, if they were addicted to drugs and alcohol, that would be a path, right? If they're down and out because they're runaways.
Can I just stop you for 1 minute?
Sure.
Please. That is the way, right? But what if there aren't any resources? What if they don't know where to go? What if they're just so down and out that they don't know what the next step is? How do you help them then?
Well, they have to want to be helped. I mean, you're telling me that somebody who wants to be helped doesn't know where to go to a shelter to talk to a counselor or talk to somebody that could get them out. Are you asking me like somebody who says, I'm homeless, there's no hope for me, there's no way out of this, I'm just going to be homeless the rest of my life because who's going to want me? Is that what you're asking?
How do you change that? How do you change that perception of someone?
Thankfully, I've never been homeless, but, putting myself in that situation with that kind of mindset is really agreed. Very, very tough. But again, just like the cult example that I was giving you, you're with other homeless people. Normally, homeless people don't sleep alone. I mean, they usually have kind of like this homeless community. And I get it. It's for protection. It's for safety. It's for camaraderie and stuff like that. But if I was in that community and I loved everyone and they all helped me and they made me feel safe, I'd still be the one that looks at the people walking on the sidewalk, shopping or commuting to work or going somewhere to eat. And I would know that there is better for me. That's just me. You know what I mean? Where my mission, if I was homeless and assuming I'm clean, my mission would be to find a place that can help me at the very least look presentable so I can do my thing. You know what I mean? That's me. I can't talk about other people.
But that's what I'm saying. So what is it inside you what is that? Can you explain that to me? Can you tell me what it is inside Dino that's just like, whoa, powerful. He wants to go out. He's got a vision and he just goes for it.
Because I remember. And that's the whole thing. How easy we all forget. I was, I'm not born homeless. I did live in a house. I did have a job. I remember what that felt like. I know I'm in these circumstances, and for right now, it's saving my life. But always in the back of my mind, I know that I can do better because I remember. You see? Some people tune out a whole era of their lives. I mean, seriously, like you can't remember. You need a hypnotist to kind of recall these memories and go, oh, watch the, I don't know what you guys do. But but they block it out because it's painful.
Yes.
Okay. But sometimes the best stuff comes from digging into that painful part. Your brain will only allow you to consume a certain amount of pain at a time. There's what your brain is. There's a protective thing from overload. That's why you shut down. That's why you block out memories but just to keep it blocked forever and ever and ever is certainly not a good idea. For me, I would chip away one little thing at a time so I can find out how I can move on. And that's the uncomfortable part. There is discomfort and pain in that situation before you move forward. Mm-hmm. And you either attack it or you don't. It's great to feel comfortable and, well, I'm not going to touch on that right now, okay. And then you're happy in your bubble and in your mediocrity and never say, I wish, or I want, or I wonder. But if you do wish and want and wonder, then you know that you're carrying a shovel and a pick and the things that you need to just chip away at that wall that's holding you back. And that, for me, is remembering. That's why I remember things like they were yesterday, because I want to feel those things because it's my lifeline out of my own head. You see?
So let's go back to ghosts.
Yeah.
Face the ghosts of your past.
Good way to say it. See, you tricked me. You tricked you. You're good. You. No, you're good. No, yeah, it is. Those are ghosts of the past, and or what I was calling demons, or baggage, or scars, or bad memories, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, let's call it ghosts. We all have them. Do we keep them all stored in a closet for whatever, for an eternity, or do we just let them out one at a time? And I think we really have to start letting them out one at a time. That's why, there are podcasts that are very entertaining and very funny, and, they kind of joke. I mean, we joke around, but there are other ones that are very dry and boring and, well, the book on psychiatric, blah, blah, blah. I'd fall asleep in it. But then there's stuff like us. We're just two regular people that are talking about life, that are talking about things in life, which are not mutually exclusive to us. And a lot of people can relate to them. I mean, look at the viewership. Yes. If it wasn't a good subject matter, I mean, tell me at any time, I'd probably, have this cane that pulls me off the screen. But the reason, the reason we're still doing these is because, it's not just self-serving to us. I think other people can relate to just an ordinary person's view. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I'm curious. Yeah, I've done a lot of things, but I'm just like everybody else. It's just that for some reason, I understood at a very young age that I have to move forward by understanding who I am. And sometimes I haven't done a good job at it, but as the last month and a half of segments will show you, you can bounce back. I looked horrible on that one segment. I was loaded up with just brand new prescriptions that the doctor gave me, and I was just like, hi, Carina. I mean, and that happens, and it's okay. It doesn't embarrass me. I'm actually glad that we captured it. Because, we can always refer back to those moments. And if I can do it and I can recover and I can move forward and continue to keep moving forward, anybody can. You know what I mean? So that's my take on it, Carina.
Okay, well, thank you. I love that take. And then I just want to go back. You mentioned just as my writer mind just has this picture. You were saying that one day when you open your closet and there's a zombie there, are you going to really just wait for him to eat or her to eat you up? Well, I suppose it depends, right?
I don't think I'd be eaten. You see what I mean? That's the whole point. It's ridiculous. If I opened the door and the zombie was there, I'd be like, hey, what are you doing? You want to change your clothes? I mean, I don't know. It's the weird part of me. But I don't think I'd be afraid to be eaten. First of all, if there really were zombies that existed, I mean, they're very slow moving and they're very weak. And so you could just smack one and just and just knock him senseless. Okay. You don't have to worry about stuff like that. I'm not that kind of person. I don't know. I'm just not that kind of person.
I love that. I could. Okay. Well, that was an interesting thing. So tell me a bit about. So you've never really experienced ghosts, as in waking up one day when someone's sitting on your bed and.
No, not. I haven't had the benefit of those visuals. I've never seen spoons come out of a drawer and fall to the ground. I've never seen, that kind of stuff. But I have felt things like my perception has just really, really served me well my entire life. Even when my senses are dulled, I'm still more perceptive than your average person. So to me, that's what it is. Like you said, when you were healing, you felt spirits working through you. It's kind of a similar thing. I mean, I'm not going that far to say, well, there's spirits working through me, but certainly there's a higher power that I've tapped into. It's a dimension, call it your third eye, call it whatever makes you feel comfortable, right? We're not here to judge and put labels on things. But let's just say that perception. I'm a firm believer in always preaching the in us all thing, where we all have this. It's just we haven't tapped into it. We haven't exercised it enough. We have unrealistic expectations of what that is. Like, there's, you could sit around drinking and getting plastered and you could be like, oh, well, I could tap into, my higher power or whatever. And this really did happen. So somebody was just like, I'm going to make these glasses move. And they were just sitting there. Oh, did you see that? Did you feel that? Oh, yeah, I saw it too. Maybe people could do that, but that to me is just like unrealistic. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is just when you understand yourself, when you're so in tune with yourself, and when you're so perceptive and inquisitive and, question everything with eyes wide open, like a 7-year-old boy, which I still believe in many ways I am. You'll feel other people's emotions without them even saying a word. You'll feel if it's a friendly environment. You'll feel if it's an unsafe environment. You'll feel if it's a sincere environment. How? I don't know. I can't explain that. Maybe you can, or maybe that's another show. I don't know. But I'm just telling you that has been with me literally my entire life. And if that's what you're calling ghosts and spirits, yeah, I'm full of them. Okay.
Well, maybe that would be a show for another day.
Yeah.
So if you walk into a room, you'd probably, and sometimes you go and visit people. You'd go and visit someone, family, a couple or whatever, and you walk into that room and you're just hit by this energy. And you look and you see, even though they're pretending to be really happy and whatever, you can feel that they've just had this huge argument.
Or something is behind the fake smile. Yeah, of course, I could pick that up. Yes. It could just be a bad day. I mean, most of the times I'm just saying, well, maybe they had a bad day. I don't know, but I will say that I have to believe that a lot of entrepreneurs and salespeople have mastered that dimension of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes them good at what they do. Some, no, not so much. You know what I mean? Some just with blinders on, they just ignore the real feeling. I mean, one of the things that made me so good at what I did was maybe I was tapping into their current state of emotion, and I was able to touch on that level, right? And when you're able to touch on the level of emotion, doesn't matter what you're selling, doesn't matter if it's a product or service, doesn't matter. But when you're able to touch somebody there, all of a sudden, now you have something that's very, very special. And I was always able to do that, probably because all this stuff has been in me. Like in my book, I talk about, like, from a very young age, I didn't do anything special. I mean, outside of the Greek circle where everybody knew, well, this is Mr. Miliotis' son, and Mr. Miliotis is the Greek school teacher. Outside of that Greek bubble, I still had people opening up doors for me or doing favors for me or looking at me more, a little special. And I couldn't understand why, except that there was some kind of power or aura around me. That's how I explained it then. That's how I explained it in the book. But it all stems from there. It's never left me, right? Sometimes I left it. You see what I mean?
Right. I like that. Maybe that's a good place to end this, to end this segment. So before we go, I'd like to remind you that there is a little Dino running around. So just check him out. Come on.
I do check him out every week. Oh, you're talking to the viewers.
Viewers, yes, check him out. And then another thing, I've created a Facebook group called BreakFear, and we are going to start doing Q&As and have some fun in there and discuss fear on different levels. So the details are about, come and join us. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're also going to start some Q&As with Dino and I on Saturdays. So check that out as well. That will be in the Facebook group. So the details are all at the bottom. And
I can't wait to have our first guest on this tag team collaboration. That's going to be so much fun.
Yes.
So much fun.
So watch out for that. We're going to be changing the format a bit because now as co-hosts, it's more fun this way. So we can bring in guests and of course still have our conversations because this is even more fun. I'd like to, if you check out the videos, you see that the editing is really cool. Look at the new our new little promo trailer. So I'd like to give a shout out to the editor, who is Stoned Horror Production. Check him out as well. He's really, really good. I think I've done enough shouting out. What about you? Do you know anything on your side?
Nothing. I just love the viewership. I welcome the participation. Please keep your comments coming in. Please, all viewers, keep sharing. That's how we grow our base and expand. And I will be talking about my foundation soon. I'm going to have people on. I'm going to bring people on that want to volunteer. Also, some of the founding members. I think it's going to be really interesting. And I was just on the table read today. They posted my my story about the foundation and how my own book inspired me to create a foundation that addressed what's missing in the marketplace with regard to addiction and road to recovery and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting. My phone's been blowing up, which is great. And this is just the beginning. I mean, the full court press is coming. But again, I mentioned the foundation first on one of your segments. And again, you know what? If you guys ever want to test just real proof, like show and tell, watch these segments, because in these segments, I've overcome just an incredible and anxious moment in my life and started the concept of a foundation, which has become a reality and now is in press. So, I mean, it's almost like it's been condensed to format to your TV, but this is real life that's happening right in front of everybody's eyes. So check it out.
Really
and Carina,
exciting.
as always, thank you very much for doing this every week. I love it. I love participating and look forward to many, many more.
Thank you, Dino. And one more thing, we will have a link to the article as well on the show notes. So check that out.
Cool. All right.
So thank you, Dino. I love these sessions. And the hours just go, like the hour goes forever. So we probably could do this every day. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you so much, Dino, for being here. And we'll see you next week.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's adventure, and I look forward to seeing you again. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you thought this was amazing. Remember, if you need any additional resources, just check them out in the description box below. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks again. Bye for now.